and welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can tell by the title, we are finally getting around to filming my labour story. Now, baby is almost 8 weeks old, so it's taken me a little while to get around to filming this. I'm just watching him now because he's like kicking about. So yeah, Noah is almost 8 weeks, which is just crazy because it's gone so quickly. Are we talking about you? So if you are new to my channel, then this is baby Noah, isn't it? You're 8 weeks old almost on Saturday, so tomorrow. And yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing? Noah, you've made your debut in our labour story of how you got into the world. Now we're going to get onto the video and you can maybe fall asleep for mummy. Wouldn't that be good? So, first things first, if you are new to my channel, I'm Liv. I am 21 years old, I've just had my first baby, and yeah, I'm so excited to talk through this because I've had so many questions, so many requests for this video, and yeah, labour to me was something that was really daunting and I was really worried about. In my family history, I've had a lot of cesareans, so I was going into it thinking, oh god, maybe I'll be the next with the cesarean. My mum had a cesarean with all 3 of her children. My cousin had one, my auntie had one, my nan had them, so yeah, it's just, I was very worried. However, I'm here to tell you that labour, for me personally, obviously everybody's stories are different, mine was nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. So we'll get all into that, but if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe down below. And yeah, let's get into the story. I hope I don't miss anything. I haven't written down points, but I'm just going to talk and hopefully I haven't forgotten anything. So, I think I'll start off by saying he was born at 40 weeks plus 4 days, so I wasn't early. He wasn't on his due date and he was a little bit late. So, the due date was August the 13th and he was born on August the 17th. So, it's not too bad to be honest. I thought I was going to be early because how he was sat so low in my pelvis for so long that I just thought that maybe he'd be early because he was so low. I could barely walk when I got to about 35 weeks. I could literally not walk properly because his head was so low in my pelvis. So I found out I was pregnant in December last year, which just seems like a lifetime ago now. I loved my pregnancy. I had a lot of morning sickness, but other than that, until I got to about 32 weeks, I loved my pregnancy, and then it all started to go downhill when I started getting the swelling. Honestly, I had so much water retention. If you go back on my vlogs, my face was just like puffy. I had swollen hands, swollen feet. So by the time of that point, especially when he was late, I was over being pregnant. So towards the end of my pregnancy, I had a lot of back and forward hospital trips. This is going to happen a lot in the video, I just know it. I was low risk, but just certain things kept flagging up in my midwife appointments. So he was measuring too small on my bump and stuff, so we had to go for growth scans. And then just a few like monitorings, like my blood pressure would be too high or his heart rate would be too high when we were like taking the midwife appointments. You normally get them more towards the end of your pregnancy. You start seeing her every 2 weeks. No, every once a week or every 2 weeks. I can't really remember. Seems like so long ago. But yeah, we were back and forward quite a lot, and then they booked me in for a growth scan, which was like just 2 weeks before my due date, and then they did book in another one, which would have meant I would have been overdue anyway, but they booked it in anyway. So it got to about a week, 2 weeks before my due date, and I'm here for the TMIs, guys. I'm so sorry, but I'm here to be real and I'm going to talk about everything. So generally when you are going to go into labour, an early sign of labour is a clear out. You get a clear out from your body, which is literally exactly what it says. It's disgusting, and oh my god, it was horrible. But that, like I said, is an early sign of labour, so I was quite excited about it. Oh my god, can you see in the mirror how my camera's set up right now? But you're actually sat on a lampshade. I'm currently moving house, so this is all a bit crazy. Anyways, I had to go up to the hospital for monitoring for that because I felt so poorly and they didn't want anything to be wrong with the baby. And from then, she could see on the monitor, because you get like strapped in, that even then I was having like slight little contractions already, and that was about 2 weeks before. And then from then on, especially in my last week, I'd never had Braxton Hicks in my pregnancy at all, but I had it a couple of times, and then the last week of my pregnancy I was like in early labour, so I kept having like contractions that literally would last for about 3-4 hours. I'd be timing them, they'd be like spaced out, and then they would just go and nothing would come of it, and it was the most frustratingest thing. So when I actually went into labour, I had no idea I was actually in labour. Like I literally thought, oh, not again. So all that was happening, we were back and forward from the hospital, and then I was booked in for a sweep the day after my due date. So we went to that, and that was on the Wednesday. That was horrible. Sweeps are absolutely vile. I literally hated it. I feel like the sweep for me was one of the worst parts. However, I don't know if it did anything or my body was going to naturally go into labour anyway. That's what they say. They can't scientifically prove that they work because the body could have naturally gone into labour anyway. But yeah, so when she done me on the Wednesday, which was the day after my due date, I was already 2 centimetres dilated. And yeah, after the sweep, I then had my growth scan, which I said was after my due date, on the Friday. And he was measuring fine, I think. He was still measuring a bit smaller, but he was fine. Like, it was, yeah, how it should have been, basically. And then I got put in for a consultation with the doctor because we've been back and forward with, like, reduced movements, because they are very hot on, if you've got any reduced movements, phone the doctor, phone the midwife, whatever, let them know. And a few times, I don't know, I thought it was fine, but obviously they're always like, oh, if it happens, there might be a problem with the baby, and that really panicked me. So that was all in my notes as well, and obviously with the growth scans. So they ended up doing another check on me on the Friday, and I still was only 2 centimetres dilated, so I don't think the sweep had actually done anything because I hadn't progressed. And then we spoke to the consultant, and he basically decided to induce me on the Saturday, which was the 17th of August, which was when he was born. However, that was booked in for the Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. So there I was, really nervous because I know induction is just like such a long process. It can last days, and you're basically monitored for like 6 hours, and I didn't really want to be doing that. But I kind of just wanted him out at this point. I was like, I'm so ready. At least I know when he's coming. I've got it booked in. I can pack my bags. Everything will be ready because I know when it's going to happen. So on the Friday night we went home, packed all our bag up and stuff like that. I have got a vlog of my birth. Not my birth, but around the time of my birth, and you can see me packing my hospital bag, I think, or just me taking a photo of me packing my hospital bag. And yes, we done all that, and then I woke up in the morning. I went to sleep fine. I normally get really nervous about things and I can't normally sleep. However, that night I literally was flat out asleep, and I woke up about 5:30, which was because I was nervous. And literally about half an hour, 20 minutes after I woken up, I started getting like contractions, like tightenings. But obviously I had had those mild contractions previously that I'd timed, and I thought, oh my god, this could be it, and it never was. So I did start timing them. I think I must still have them on my phone. Let me just check. Yes, I've actually got my contractions written down. So they literally came in 5:53, 5:57, 6:07, 6:11, 6:17, 6:23, 6:32, 6:36. So they were coming in at literally like 4 minutes apart, and they were lasting way over 45 seconds to a minute straight away. So I thought, oh, surely this is not it. I was at home anyway, so I walked into my mum's room. I was like, Mum, I think I could possibly be in labour. Connor was like, oh no, you're only saying that because you don't want to be induced, blah blah blah. I thought, oh, I don't know. I don't actually know if I'm in labour or not. I know people say you will know, but reflecting, there was a complete difference. So I went into Mum and I was like, I think I might be in labour. I've got contractions and they're coming in at 4 minutes apart, but I don't know if I'm just psyching myself up because I know that I'm having the baby anyway. So she goes, what does it feel like? And honest to God, this is the only way I can describe it. It feels like you're gonna shit yourself, because the contractions that I've been feeling in the week, which must have been more like Braxton Hicks, but they were like false contractions because they were literally timed. They were more around my belly. However, this was more of like a pushing down pain on, like, it's like the middle of, like, between your front and your back, like right directly in the middle. And Mum said, I think you're probably in labour then. I didn't really believe it. I just like, oh, I don't really think this is right. So I got on my bouncy ball, was bouncing. I was watching the Jade Goody documentary, just chilling, because obviously I wasn't going into the hospital till 9:30 anyway. And I wanted to wait then to see if my contractions had progressed. I needed to phone the hospital anyway to like check in, just to see if everything was fine. So I phoned the hospital at 7:30, and I said I think I might be in labour anyway, but she said okay, just come in at 9:30. So I waited till 9:30, and then I had to get put on a monitor. Luckily for me, I actually had my midwife all day. She helped me give birth to him, so that was amazing. She was my midwife throughout my pregnancy, and then obviously I got to have her in my actual labour, which is quite rare. So yeah, when I got there, because I was meant to be induced, they put me straight on a monitor and they were monitoring him. And at this point my contractions were 2 minutes apart, and I was, honestly, I hadn't even had any gas and air at this point either, because they wouldn't let me because I was on the monitor. And I was like, honestly, I cannot cope right now. I can't even explain, like, labour was nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like, it's bearable, like, you can definitely cope with it. It's not like, it's not even like pain. It is painful, but it's not like pain. It's like a really, it's really hard to explain until you've done it, but it's like a really strong ache. Like, it literally feels like, because that is actually what it is, something pushing down on you. And I was trying to eat, I couldn't eat anything because I just felt so like sick. And then once I'd been on and off the monitor, basically, because I had to keep standing up because of my contractions, the monitor, they're rubbish, these things. They're like literally strapped on, and they've got like a heart rate monitor for him and then like a thing for me to like measure contractions and stuff. It kept falling off because I kept moving. I think his heart rate was like, I don't know, I don't know, it just wasn't consistent, so they kept me on there longer. At this point I was like, I need the gas and air. So I was on gas and air after she checked me, and oh, was it before or after? I can't really remember, but she checked me about 10:30, so I'd been on the monitor for about an hour. And when she checked me, I was already 4 centimeters dilated, which means that you're in active labour basically, so you get moved to the labour ward. So straight away I was moved to the labour ward. This bit's all a bit of a blur to me because I was on gas and air and I was talking a load of rubbish. I felt like I was on drugs and I was just babbling. Honestly, I kept saying like, I kept saying I feel like I'm in Nemo, you know, when Dory's just like, just keep swimming, just to try and like progress myself. And then we went into labour ward, and that to me was a bit of a blur, like I said, because I was quite high. And then Connor's mum came. I remember her coming, and it was being like, my contractions at this point, even though I've got the gas and air, they were so strong. They just they completely felt different. So they put me in a different position. I was kind of sat like against the pillows on the bed, like against it, so I was kind of on all fours. And I just remember thinking, I need to push. Like, honestly, I can just feel the pressure so bad. And I know I was squeezing Connor's hand so hard because I was in so much pain, but because I was just like numb with the gas and air, I couldn't really feel, but I knew I was hurting him. So this was probably about, I don't know, 12, half 12, 1ish, I have no idea. Honestly, it's just all a bit of a blur to me. And then I decided to have the epidural. I probably could have pushed, but I was in so much pain and I could still feel the pain through my gas and air. And the gas and air made me feel so like spaced out, like I wasn't in the moment. I really wanted to be in the moment and remember it. And when I was on the gas and air, I was just gone. I was absolutely gone. I could barely hear people talking. And then when it wore off, I just started to hear people going, ooh, people are talking again, I can hear. I'm back in the room. But I didn't like that, I just wanted to be fully present. So I then got the epidural, and honestly, I was so worried about the epidural because of the needle, but at the time I was begging for the epidural and I was just dying for that thing to be in my body. You obviously have to wait for the anaesthetist, I can't pronounce that word. You know what I mean. And yeah, I was just like, whatever I have to do, I'm gonna have this epidural. He then come in, they all have to read like this whole like terms and conditions thing to you, and I was just so far like gone because I was still on the gas and I don't even know what's going on. And I remember the doctor said to me, have you got any questions? So I was like, yes, can you hurry up please? And I felt so bad. I was like, oh, I'm really sorry for being rude. I was just so gone and I was so desperate for the epidural. And then he'd done it really quickly, to be fair. I could feel it in my back. I was on gas and air, but you just have to keep really still, which was obviously quite hard because when you're getting contractions, it's hard to keep still. But I could feel it go into my back, and I could imagine if I wasn't on the gas and air, it would hurt. But because I was on the gas and air and I was in so much pain from my contractions anyway, I would say the epidural pain was about a 3, but the contractions was about a 9. So honestly, in comparison, not even anything. The epidural I had was like a movable one. What was the word? I don't know. But I could get up and move about. I could still feel everything. I didn't have any problems with being like completely numb and not being able to stand up. Within 10, 15, 20 minutes, pain all gone. Literally, it was the nicest feeling ever. My legs felt all warm. I kept saying, oh, I feel like I'm by the fire. It's so nice and cozy. And I was getting up, I was walking around, I was eating some chocolate, just chilling. Oh, also, she had measured me again. I don't know if it was before or after my epidural, but this was about 2 1:30 she'd measured me and I was already 10 centimeters. So the first time she'd measured me I was 4 centimeters, and when she checked me I was 10 centimeters dilated, which means you're fully dilated and you are ready to push the baby out. However, when you have an epidural, they kind of encourage you to wait an hour before pushing, just to fully make sure the baby is fully in your cervix. So he came out with a cone-shaped head because he'd been in there so long. His head was all pointy. Bless him. I think that's quite common though. Anyways, so she actually went for her lunch break about 2:30, and then she came back at about 3:30, 20 to 4. And she just come in and was like, right, let's start pushing. So I was fine. I was so chilled. I was just chilling, to be honest. I was having a great time, relaxing, sat on my phone, listening to music, eating chocolate. Connor literally freaked out when she told him that we're going to start pushing. I think it just kind of came into reality. Like when you're in it, like you're just in it, like you're in the zone, you just do it. But I suppose for other people around you it's kind of like, oh my god, it's happening. But for me I was just like, alright, that's cool. I was actually really shocked that she kind of just, I don't know, I just thought I'd be waiting a lot longer. So yeah, and also my birthing partners were Connor, my mum and Connor's mum. I feel like in some hospitals they have a limit of how many like birthing partners you can have, because I had got some questions like, oh, will you allow 3 people in the room? When I was filling out my notes, I said, oh, can I add someone to my notes? Like this was further down the line. She said, yeah, you can have anyone in the room that you want. Obviously it can't have like 10 people in there, but at the hospital I was at, I was the only one in the labour ward the whole day. So we actually ended up getting a bedroom. Well, not a bedroom, but like a room rather than the communal rooms that you can sometimes be put in, which was really, really nice. And there was only one other person in the actual like maternity ward at the same time. I feel like she had her baby the day before me, and I think she had a cesarean, so she had to stay in a little bit longer. Oh, bless him, he's asleep and he's got a bit of wind. So yeah, that was at about 20 to 4, so 3:40, and then Noah was born at 3:53. So it was a very quick pushing out labour. So we started pushing, and to be honest, I know people get worried about the epidural, about not being able to feel anything, but I knew when to push. Like I could still feel the pressure, like I knew when to push, but it just didn't hurt. And obviously you have the monitor next to you as well. Noah. Yes, so you also have the monitor next to you, so the nurses will tell you when you need to push anyway. So I done my first push. They just told me to push as hard as I can, put my chin down to my chest and just go for it. So I thought, okay, let's do it. Did that, and within the first push his head was out, like his head had crowned, and everyone in the room was so shocked, and I was like, I didn't think I was pushing that hard. Obviously I was, but because I couldn't really feel much, it didn't, like it wasn't hurting, it didn't feel like I was really pushing. Like, I don't know, I don't really know how to explain it. So yeah, within the first push his head was like, you could see his head. So then they told me to carry on pushing. I then done, now this bit again is all a bit blurry to me because it all happened so quickly. So I was pushing, and then at one point they lost his heart rate on the monitor, like it completely dipped, which is quite common when you're pushing, but obviously that's not good. So they asked Connor to push the emergency alarm. Obviously Connor started panicking. Again, I was still so chilled, I just didn't really know what was going on, I was just chilling. So then some people come rushing in, and then they tell them to pull the other alarm, which sets off the whole ward, and literally like 10 people came running in. I feel like everybody else was probably panicking, but again, I was just like, I don't really know what's going on, I'm just chilling. Like, I feel fine. Like, I felt so fine in myself that I wasn't worried. I don't know why I wasn't worried, but I probably should have been. I was just kind of looking around like, oh my god, what's all these people? And then they were trying to like get me to turn on my side, but I was like, this is not comfortable. Like, can I go back onto my back? And then this doctor came up to me and said, we're going to have to get the baby out as soon as possible, as quickly as possible. So we're going to need either forceps or pontoons. What are they called? Pontoons? Ah, it's called Ventouse. V-E-N-T-O-U-S-E, which apparently is a suction cup, which I didn't realise. But yeah, so he comes in and he tells me that, and I was just kind of like, yeah, that's fine. And he said, we're going to have to make a cut so it's easier for the baby to come out. And I was like, okay, whatever you need to do. And then some of the nurses in the room were like telling me to stop pushing. And I said to my midwife, I said, I've got a contraction. And at this point his head was like hanging out. I've got a contraction, can I push? And she said, just push. So I pushed, and he came literally flying out. Also, my waters hadn't broke. I know you normally meant to get like a show, or I can't really remember, a show, water's breaking. A show is a really early sign of labour, and obviously your water's breaking. I feel like everybody thinks that your waters break really early on and then you go into labour. It's not always the case. My waters didn't break. They literally broke when he came out, so they literally like exploded all over my midwife. He wasn't born in his sac, but they had literally like exploded and they all went all up her. So yeah, he came out pretty quickly. I think we did like 4 pushes in total and he came out. And I was a bit in shock when they'd like put him on my chest. My mum did video the labour. I'm not going to put it in. It's disgusting. It's literally disgusting. And he'd also pooed in his waters, so they were all like a horrible colour, which is not nice obviously, but he was all good, everything was fine. They then like plopped him on my chest and I was like, oh my god. I don't know, I feel like I did like, I was really emotional. Connor was crying, but I didn't cry because I was just in so much shock that he'd come out so quickly. Like I don't know what I expected. You don't know what to expect. So when he was like on me, I was like, oh my god, and they were all like rubbing him. Luckily he didn't come out all like bloody and gross like you see on the TV. I'm like one born every minute. He was actually like just normal. And he did have a funny shaped head. And I was a bit worried about that. I was like, oh my god, is he alright? But that's obviously where he'd been sat in my cervix for so long. So yeah, that is how he came out. Like I said, my pre-labour signs, etc., I didn't have any. So yeah, I was always under the impression, because actually my best friend, she had a baby 2 weeks before me. She had like all the signs of labour, like she had a show, she lost her plug during labour, so I think that happened when she was at the hospital, but she had lost a little bit of it anyway, and her waters had broken, whereas for me, none of that happened. Like I didn't have any of that, so obviously I was a bit like, am I actually in labour? So but that for me is what was like, am I actually in labour? Because I haven't had any of these like signs. So yeah, it was really crazy. I really loved my labour. I still say now, I'm so excited to have my next baby. I cannot wait. I loved being pregnant for the majority of it. I loved my labour and I love him so freaking much. I can't even explain. Like I just cry about it all the time. If you watch my vlogs, I'm an emotional mess at the moment. But yeah, obviously I was really lucky in my situation. I highly recommend the epidural. It was the best decision I ever made. I was opting for a water birth to start off with, which my best friend had, and she literally loved it. She said it was amazing. As soon as she got in that pool, like everything was just so much better. I did have to have stitches, which again, absolutely fine. Didn't feel a thing, but I think that's down to the epidural. Oh bub, you're alright. My friend who had a water birth, you can't have epidurals and stuff when you have a water birth. She just had gas and air and she said she was absolutely fine, but she said for her in that situation the stitches was so much worse than the actual labour. But for me, I literally couldn't feel my stitches. I was literally sat with my legs on the stirrups, whatever they're called. She was stitching me up and I was sat on my phone. As of the second stage of labour, which I think that's what it's called, the second stage, is giving birth to your placenta. Again, a lot of people say that's quite difficult. You literally get an injection in your leg. You can say you don't want it, but obviously I didn't care. I just wanted anything to happen. And my midwife came over to me and she was like, right, we're gonna do your placenta now. I was like, oh, okay, what do I need to do for that? And she literally walked around and the placenta was there, like it'd literally come out. He had a really chunky like umbilical cord, but the placenta itself was quite, it wasn't small, but it was smaller than I expected it to be, but his cord was so chunky. And then as of post-labour, so I had him obviously just before 4 in the afternoon. Within like an hour or so, I was eating pasta, because obviously my lunch was ready, my dinner at the hospital, so they came and bought me pasta. I was sat on the bed eating my pasta. And then I had a shower, that was fine. I thought it was going to be, I just thought everything was going to be so much worse than it was. And I'm not being funny, they have like, you know, like puppy piss pads and like kitten piss pads that you put around the house when you have a puppy. They literally have loads of them, so they just put them all under you. But I didn't have anywhere near as much blood loss as I thought. The post-labour was probably not the nicest thing. Obviously when you've got stitches, it's not horrible. Again, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It just wasn't pleasant. I was literally like doubling up on the like thick maternity pads, and then I had the maternity pants, which I highly recommend. They're literally like thin like cotton things, but obviously it just saves you ruining your pants. And then I'd always wear Connor's boxers as well, because I love wearing Connor's boxers, and that was just so comfortable for me. So I had him about 3:53, and then I was home the next day by midday. They just did some checks overnight, just like every couple of hours or so. And the only other issue we had is that he was born, because he came out so quickly, he wasn't able to get rid of his mucus, so he had quite a lot of mucus still in him. So he threw up some of his mucus, which was so scary, honestly. I could see him like coughing, well not coughing but just kind of like choking, and he threw up, and he was like a newborn baby and we're in the room by ourselves, and they do have like a buzzer and stuff that you can push. So I was like super panicky. I was lucky in the situation as well where he latched onto me really quickly and really well, and yeah, then the next day I was home and I was just very tired. So that concludes my labour story. Like I said, I will do like an updated newborn video if you'd like to know how I've been getting on. Obviously you can watch my vlogs because I talk about it very openly and honestly on there. There's a few probably that you can catch up on, and I also had a vlog from around when he was born and his first week as a newborn in the world. So yeah, if you want to go watch them, then go back onto my channel and you can watch them too. But yeah, in total my labour was 10 hours. It's really weird, I actually just looked at my phone and the first contraction I recorded was at 5:53 and he was born at 3:53, which is 15:53, so that's crazy. That's so weird. But yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. It was a very highly requested video. If you'd like to see that video, like I said, why do I keep saying video? I said video so many times then. If you would like to see that other video about like the updates and stuff and how I've been feeling and how he's been getting on, like I know I said I'd do it in my vlogs, but if you do want a sit down video where I can just talk through it and how I've found it as a young mum, etc, etc, then I'm more than happy to do that. But thank you so much for watching this one, and I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe down below and stay tuned on my channel for some more vlogs, and head over to my Instagram actually because I upload a lot more on there, so you'll see more of me and little Bubba over there. So thanks for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in my next one. Bye. Gonna say bye.